Alright, we're going to be jumping right into this. I know that you are here for one thing and one thing only. How do you get the top of the Keurig off? So in this next scene, we're just going to show you right away what to do. You're just going to take a Phillips head screwdriver, and right here, we're going to go up, look up the nose of this thing, and there are two screws right there. That's how you get it off. Okay. And don't mind the dirtiness of my screwdriver. That's just spray foam that I was using the screwdriver a couple weeks ago. Didn't have a chance to really clean it off with the turpentine or whatever it is that takes that off. But it's perfectly safe. I'm making sure that nothing can do it. The purpose of this video, for this part of the video, is just to show you how to get this off and make sure that you can get to access to the top. This is just another angle. You're going to notice the screws fall out and just kind of fall onto your hand just like that. So that way you don't lose them and they're not rolling around the floor. If you do, I recommend having a magnet, something where you can kind of scoop them up very quickly and not have to look for them. Now at the top here, you can actually see there's two screws there that are holding that mechanism down, and for some reason the video did not catch here, but you see I'm just gonna slowly pry everything up, just very slowly, and it comes up. Those little grommets that are around all the tubes kind of act as a way to keep everything attached. You're gonna need one white zip tie, and that is going to go at the back. You will see that later. Now right here I'm showing you that the areas you need to clean are right there. That is the backflow preventer. You're going to maybe get some coffee in there, maybe some coffee in the tube right here, and you're just going to need to clean that out, rinse it out with water, maybe even a little pick. And you're going to need what I was pointing to earlier at the top of this machine. That gets clogged. And I'm just kind of showing you here that you really don't want to go any further with it. It doesn't really come off, and you don't really want to keep messing with it. If you do, you can do what I'm doing right here, and you just kind of use your nail to pop it off. And but as far as taking the backflow preventer apart, you don't want to do that. So you remember I said that right where I was pointing to, that can get clogged with coffee grinds, and that's another thing. So I'm going to use this tool. I pre-sterilize them with bleach or alcohol, and I've already done this, so I'm just trying to show you what areas to look for. You can use the pick in there. You just want to be careful not to damage the very fragile or sensitive tube there, gunk it up where it can catch scale or things like that. And to put this back on, really easy. That little holder there, you can actually use as a means to keep everything clamped. But you want to back it off at first, and then once it's on, you can start to reattach everything. Now this is the thing that I used, or I snipped the zip tie. This is the one part or one area where you're going to need a white zip tie. You just want to make sure it's off to the side and it doesn't interfere with anything. And you can see I'm really just trying to make sure that this is connected well, because once you push that back over the device, it's going to kind of clamp it down. And then we're just going to seat it and place it and reseat it with the screws. And then you're going to be good to go. So right there, I'm showing you where the zip tie needs to go. Now I did go and grab a screwdriver. I just wanted to make sure that I had this seated over this really well. I didn't want this, it's not high pressure at this point, but at the same time, I don't want any leaks. I don't want anything that causes the water to spill out to the sides and create more issues with moisture inside, or, you know, if it contacts with anything that's old coffee, I don't want it turning into a mold. So just best to keep everything nice and tight, nice and clean, and just get it done right. And very difficult to see here, but this is me just attaching the zip tie that I spoke about earlier to the back side of the backflow preventer. This was there in the stock setup of this. I wanted to keep everything as close to stock as possible, and of course I just snip off the excess with a pair of wire snips. But again, you just want to make sure that this is the one area that you use your zip tie. When you're taking yours apart, if they've made any modifications where they utilize zip ties, just make sure that you have some on hand. So now we're just going to take the two little silver screws that we're holding in the backflow preventer and make sure that it's secure. Just for operation and use, you're obviously going to be opening and closing this a little lot. You don't want this thing flopping around in there. So this is the part where we just reattach everything. Now for this part of the video, I'm just going to show you very briefly. This is where you would just put the cover back on, just make sure everything's nice and clean, and if it isn't, that's where the next part of the video comes in. But I'm just going to wipe off the top and show you, you just throw it back on, and then of course we're going to screw it together. And then if this is all you came to know, this is all you need to do. Okay, so this one last part right here, where if I'm assuming when I made this video that you already tried this part where you tried to clear the needle and it didn't work. So that's going to happen quite frequently, where the coffee grinds get up above this needle and into the tube and just clog everything up. It's kind of a nightmare. But what I'm doing right here is just showing you how to clean that needle, how to get it cleared out so you can get water flowing in, if that's where the location is. Then I'm just going to clean this up. This is part of my maintenance. Now I do give everything a rinse in the sink. I just wasn't able to show it because it was just so time consuming. But obviously if you are cleaning with any like bleach wipes or chemicals or soaps or anything like that, you just want to make sure everything's really cleaned off and really clean. So I give everything a wipe. I'm trying to show how much gunk comes off onto this dry paper towel or onto these bleach wipes, and it is quite amazing. This thing I've had for probably 10 or 12 years, and it's held up, and this is the first deep cleaning that it's had, and you can tell. And of course, now we're just going to use the two silver screws, the larger ones, and reattach the top. Again, if this is all you needed for this video, you'd be done at this point. But if you're a clean freak and want to get this cleaned up, stay tuned. Now here I'm just showing you how disgusting this thing is. Now I've cleaned this out actually many times. This is the one spot that I've focused on, but I haven't focused on most of the internals. Now I'm using bleach wipes, which I really I wouldn't use on something that I'm like drinking coffee out of, but because I noticed mold actually on the tray, it's actually, you'll see later in the video, I pre-cleaned it. The tray had some mold on it, so I wanted to go through and make sure that I bleached everything and that this was clean and safe to drink. Now what I'm focusing on right here is there's two tabs. The tabs, I was just pushing them down before we focus on them later. They're just a couple of tabs that you push down, and the one on the right side has some wires near it. You got to be really careful. And then one on the left is kind of easy to deal with. Then we're going to take off the faceplate to the front, That's what we're doing right here. And as you can see, we've started now on the arms. Now, I started those at the top, and then I used the screwdriver. There's a little lip underneath you can grab onto with the screwdriver. They should pop right out. If not, you're going to have to work them a little bit. You want to be really careful with them. If you're not really careful, you could destroy your Keurig, and that's just not what we want to do, and we're just trying to clean things up. And again, I've already started. This side has the wire, so you really want to be careful. I'm pushing right under that wire just to make sure the top is down. And then I'm just going to keep slowly working it until it comes out. And then I'm able to get it out. You use the slide there to slide it out. There's some extra long piece at the bottom that keeps a little retainer that's pre-built into that arm. And then here we're just gonna clean the inside with some bleach wipes. Again, I come through with a wet paper towel because I couldn't really put this in the sink, but it was really nasty in here. So I wanted to come in and just, I kept cleaning everything up with the bleach wipes, and then because the bleach wipe, I used a wet paper towel just to clean up any chemical that was left behind after it had done some air drying. But it's really gross in here. I couldn't believe how much gunk was actually in here, and yeah, I'd recommend from here on out maybe doing this once a year. Now, I was thinking about cutting this out, but at the same time, there's just a lot of areas that you might miss when cleaning. So watching this video, just to see where all the gunk might be hiding, all the old coffee from years and years ago, you really just want to get in and make sure that it's all coming out, because if it does stay in there, it probably won't hurt anything, but at the same time, if it starts growing some mold, you don't want to be drinking mold. And now we're just going to focus on getting everything put back together so we can get it upstairs, put some cleaner through it, and make sure that the reservoirs and filters are updated. You want to update the filters every 2 months, but we'll get into that in a second. So you're going to use the 2 black screws here to reattach this front face piece, and then we'll see if it works, opens, and shuts correctly. Okay, this is the fun part. This is so gross. I've actually pulled this off and just had a big bowl of mold. Like, you really want to pay attention to this thing. because it gets coffee in it probably you probably pull your cup away prematurely, every drop hasn't dropped, and of course it goes into this tray and just sits there, and then the water evaporates, it's still got organic material, and it just gets moldy. This was the part that I had mold on underneath, and that's the one that I pre-cleaned. I'm cleaning it again, but at the same time, again, this area you really should be focusing on because it does get nasty, it does get gross, and you're gonna have to clean it out and then worry about it if there's any spread of that mold if you haven't cleaned anything else. And then of course you see me opening and close it. We did our job correctly. Now preparing the water filter and using a descaler. Now here I'm just gonna fill a bowl. Now this is filtered water. I have a main filter on the house, and you're gonna let that filter that you have soak for 5 minutes. Now if many of you are going, what? There's a filter? Yeah, there's a filter, and you need to switch it out every 2 months. And for those of you who just went, what? Every 2 months? I haven't switched it in like 12 years. Well, that's the camp I was in up until a few years ago. So as you can see here, it's gonna be a little deformed sometimes, but you just throw it in and wait 5 minutes. After you've waited the 5 minutes, you're gonna rinse it with water. We don't really show you that here, but you wanna rinse it for about 60 seconds. Now, if you were in the camp of not knowing where the filter was, that's it right there. It has this long handle on it so you can pull it out, and then it has a month indicator at the top. You want to make sure that this screen is nice and cleaned out, and then you're going to pull the filter from the encasing and then rinse the encasing out, or the case that holds the filter out. So I'm just putting everything on a plate to the right, and there's the old filter. Old Faithful. Now here I'm just going to set the month indicator. You want to change these out every 2 months, or every time you remember, but that'll tell you the month that you have to change it just by looking into the water reservoir. Now again, I'm using a dry paper towel because it just grabs all this stuff really well, and you're going to see how gunked up this is. I usually clean this every month, and it still gets disgusting every couple of uses. I've noticed it gets bad, but you know, this is in direct contact. I also use a Keurig modified cup. It's just a stainless steel cup, and it's just got a screen on it. I do this to cut down on plastic waste, but that's probably why. And now of course we're going to get into putting the filter in. Now I've already rinsed it. I put it back in just for a second. I should have probably rinsed it again, but we're just going to pop this filter in after a 60-second rinse, and it should be good to go to attach into the reservoir at this point. So you're just going to seat it down firmly and you're good to go. Alright, and this is just the cleaner that keeps the main reservoir kind of clean while it's in use. You know, if you're at work, at home, and you just want to keep everything flowing and clean, that's what this pod is for. It doesn't clean the whole system or do any descaling. It's just a very localized, that one chamber, cleaning it out and keeping it hopefully so your coffee is tasting fresh. This is for those who don't really want to do the descaling option, which is long and a little bit more energy intensive, but it's just for general maintenance. Alright, so for this part, you're just going to run the one pod through the machine. Once the pod is completed running through the machine, you're going to dump the cup of coffee, rinse the coffee mug out, dump it, whatever. After that, you're going to take the K-cup that had the cleaner in it out, and then while that chamber is empty, you're going to run clean, fresh water through it. Same cycle like you're brewing a hot cup of coffee, largest cup, and clean that out 2-3 times until you think it's clean enough for you to drink out of. Now you know I just cleaned this thing, and that's still what came out of there. Pretty gross, huh? So I go and I dump it, and then I bring the coffee mug back, and then I'm gonna run a couple of clean cycles of water, or a couple, leave this chamber empty and run it again until, again, you feel it's comfortable enough, or you feel comfortable enough to drink out of it. Alright, so this is the descaler method. You saw that I removed the filter. We do not want to have the filter being used during the descaler method. You just don't want to run that through your filter. I wouldn't want to drink water that had that through it. It's technically an acid, so that's how it gets rid of the scale, and this is also going to help sterilize. I can't imagine bacteria looking at this stuff very favorably. Now we're going to fill the reservoir to the max line. You see me pointing it out there. So again, you're going to remove your filter and then fill this up, and then you're going to run all the cycles that you can through it until you get the low water level. And you will see that in the video when I point to it. There'll be a little blue light, but you see that I filled it maximum, and now we're heading over to the Keurig. Alright, and here I just hit the largest cup button. We're going to do this, I think I do it 4 times, basically as much as the water reservoir will allow me to. I think it's 4 cups right there. After this process is done and it gets empty, you are going to leave it there for 30 minutes. That way the descaler has a chance to do its work. Then you're going to come back, you're going to repeat the same process with fresh water. And you're going to you're going to rinse the reservoir out, make sure that it's nice and clean. Not going to put your filter in just yet, and then you're going to run a couple more cycles to make sure that it's clean. But this is the cleaning process, and then following this will be just the cleaning it out and getting it ready for use process. The magic of editing. So you're just going to see me pointing to the light. I'm going to open and close and activate this each time. I'm going to do it, I think, 3 times. But 3 or 4 times before I get to the blue light, and then I just point to it, and then we're going to wait the half hour, leaving the rest of that descaler in the reservoir for a half an hour. Then we're going to come back, rinse it all out. Redundant, I know. And there's the blue light. We'll see you in 30 minutes. And that went quick. Power of editing. And here's the reservoir with the remainder of the descaler in it. We're just going to rinse that out. We're going to get it ready for the rinse cycle. So that descaler has been sitting in there. We're cleaning this out. We're making sure that there's no descaler left in the reservoir. We're really going to make sure that it gets a really good rinse. We're going to add our filter back in, and then we're going to allow for the descaler to be purged from the system, and then we're going to try a cup of coffee. Alright, so this is the little device that I was talking about, because I don't want to keep using K-cups and using plastic and just throwing that out into a landfill. There's this little reusable one that we use. Now, there is a gasket at the top. It does have some paper that's on it that you're going to have to clean off, scrub off when you first get it. But we're just going to charge it, fill it up with my favorite coffee, and then once that's done, we're going to throw it in the machine and brew ourselves a cup of coffee, see how it tastes. I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm fine. Few swollen lymph nodes, that was it. Really good coffee. Anyways, yeah, that was the how to clean your Keurig. Now, obviously, at the beginning of the video, we focus more on just unclogging it. If that's where you wanted to end the video, obviously you could at that point. And then as we go on, I show you how dirty the Keurigs can get. I use bleach wipes. I know a lot of people frown upon that, but one of the things that I didn't show you is I usually take like after a bleach wipe, I'll let it air dry, and then of course I'll wipe it down with a damp paper towel. I was down in the garage when I was doing this, so I didn't have a damp paper towel. I didn't trust the cleanliness of everything. Once I got up to the kitchen, I gave everything a wipe down. I forgot to record that, and that's just what I'll tell you that I did. The tanks at the end where we're using the chemicals, I would just, if you don't feel comfortable with the chemical that you left in there for half an hour, empty 2 or 3 tanks. Just keep going through as many Keurig tanks until you feel comfortable the system is flushed out. And then obviously give the coffee a taste test. If it doesn't taste right, then continue the flushing process. But guys, that was the video of how to unclog, clean your Keurig and make sure that it's sterile. You can use dish soap. You can use on the tank. I wouldn't use it on the filter. You can do all that stuff. I usually do all that stuff because I was using the chemicals today. I just gave everything a rinse and made sure that everything was nice and clean. A lot of it was just showing you how gunky these things can get and just wiping it off with a dry paper towel and showing you all the gunk on it, or wiping it off with a bleach wipe and just showing all the gunk on it. You'll notice that that tray below where the coffee cup sits on gets a lot of coffee in it. I've opened it up and had mold in it. That's why another reason I use bleach wipes. These things can get mold in them. So I just try to, once in a while, the bleach wipes will kill any of that, and you just got to be careful. But guys, that was the video. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you saw, you know what to do. Give me the thumbs down. Give me some feedback in the comments. Tell me what you think. I'm Joel at Dissecting DIY. You have a good day.